Disconnect yourself from social media, first of all. The only person that needs to like you is you. Do something valuable. Take up a sport, take up a martial art, take up firearms. It doesn't do your kids any good to be at war with their other parents. Kids can't have too much love. There's no such thing. If you had the discipline, you could create more energy. Eat right and go to the gym. As far as I'm concerned, you should always be living your best life now.
They're, men in their 20s, 30s, you see where they're at today. What advice do you have?
That's a good question. I don't know. Disconnect yourself from social media, first of all. There's a lot of crap out there on social media that makes people do things to get recognized and I was guilty of that too. I'll be the first to admit that. I used to post things all the time to get likes, and forget that. The only person that needs to like you is you, right? Work on that first. Get likes from yourself before you want to get likes from others, because those likes from others will naturally come when you show up in their space.
Sure.
As someone they like.
Sure.
And I don't mean like as in, like I said, I was a people pleaser my whole life. Right? You need to be tough with people. You need to tell them what they need to know, but you also need to take criticism yourself and learn from it.
So they go away from social media, which I can understand. I agree. They have this free time now. What are they going to put their time towards then if they go away from social media?
Do something valuable. Take up a sport. Take up a martial art. Take up firearms. Do something that will bring you with other men, and in a way that's fulfilling for you.
Your 20s and 30s, would you recommend finding like-minded men in that age, or do you go because older men that might have some things figured out in life? What are you recommending there?
100%. When I was that age, I looked up to. There was a guy that he had a garage. He was a mechanic. Yeah. And I met him through a friend, and I used to go in and help. And I'd be wrenching, and I learned so much from him about rebuilding cars and working on cars. And I pretty much just the other day I fixed my dentist has a Porsche, and it's an older one, a 1980 vintage classic Porsche, one of my dream cars growing up. And he's done some work for me I'm grateful for. He doesn't charge me sometimes, and he had an issue with his car and he was going to take it in, and I said, I'll fix it for you, right? And I did. And it was such a good feeling because, here's this guy he's a dentist. He's doing very well for himself. But he did me a favor. And so I'm returning the favor by doing something for him that he needs.
Who would ever assume that you could do that with a dentist, eh?
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Right. And so there was, growing up in the Indian community, right, and the Indian parenting style, it was, okay, you need to be a doctor, lawyer, pharmacist, engineer. Right. That's it, right? We didn't see the value in being a plumber or an electrician or an auto mechanic. But these are the things that drew me. I'm great at fixing. I can fix pretty much anything, from computers to electronics to appliances to vehicles, right? Because I like working with my hands and I like troubleshooting. But those were not given to me as options growing up because they were not what we considered to be the thing to do, right? And so where I'm going with this is a lot of people are all about the shine and not the substance. It's not what a person does. It's not how much money they have. It's what can I give to them and what can I learn from them? That's how I see things anyway.
Interesting. Curious now, a lot of these, relationships, despite, our good or bad intentions as men, we're in situations where we're not necessarily in, the same relationship we were married into, and then our children are not a part of it. How do we show up as men, as fathers, now for our children that maybe not are in a life all the time?
So it doesn't, first and foremost, I've always believed this, it doesn't do your kids any good to be at war with their other parent, right? So when my ex-wife and I split up, and our kids were young, 5 and 7, we made an agreement that we were not going to use the kids as pawns. We would co-parent them together, And we would show people that just because two parents aren't together under the same roof doesn't mean they can't parent, right? And I think, unfortunately, one of the most toxic things that is happening to young people who come from broken homes, which obviously the numbers are higher than ever before, is that those parents are still battling and feuding each other, and that's a lot of negativity and negative energy that affects the children.
Yeah. So let's assume that you're in a situation that was your best intention. She's just difficult. She's making your life as much of a life of hell as possible. What would your rule? What would your takeaway be? What would your direct message be to that guy?
Hold your ground. Be who you are. Don't give in.
Right.
If the chihuahua's barking constantly, you don't bark back at it. Be the man that you know you are, and your kids will naturally see. If they don't realize it now,
Yeah.
they will in the future.
Right.
They will see that, oh wow, this person is. When they could have done this, they could have behaved that way, but they didn't. Right, and that speaks to integrity as well.
Right. So men aren't holding their ground enough in those situations. You're saying
No, and
they're barking back. They're being catty themselves. Is what you're suggesting.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I want to give you another example of so my ex-wife started dating a guy, good guy.
Yeah.
I liked him, and we would, my ex-girlfriend and I, and my ex-wife and her boyfriend went to a Jays game together. We did New Year's Eve together, right? He was a good guy. I liked him. My kids were spending time, they spent most of their time living with her. And so I had friends of mine saying, hey, that guy's pretty much raising your kids when you're not around. How do you feel about that? And I said, well, kids can't have too much love. And if I'm not there, and that person is providing love to them, I'm thankful for that, because it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
The guy could be an asshole, and no, if he was a good guy, he practiced hockey moves with my kid. He was involved in them, and he was a good person. Kids can't have too much love. There's no such thing.
Right. That's interesting you see it that way. I also see it that I think a lot of fathers forget that your kids will never forget your biological father. I had to go through a program, and I called it the Angry Dads program, right? Because all these men were there with, anger issues and that kind of stuff. And so what I realized were that these men were sitting around so angry about their exes, and they didn't realize that, eventually they're going to come back to see you. And if you haven't done any personal development of who you are, they're going to see a crappy guy. Right? So they're going to eventually come back to see you. Eventually. 18, 25, 30.
Yep.
And a lot of these guys were saying that when they eventually met their dad, they realized how much a loser he was. These guys. And I'm like, guys, wake up.
Wow.
Are you going to be that loser like your father was? That when you go back out and you find your father, that he's going to be as much a loser as you are, right? And so it always left me a message, right? People, more is caught than taught, right? And kids they'll catch what you're not saying.
Right.
Or they're going to catch what you're saying no matter what.
People underestimate how perceptive children are.
Right. And I guess my curious question is how do you look at energy versus discipline? What's more important in your life today? The amount of energy you have or the amount of discipline you have? What's the hardest thing? What's the most thing you most focus on, and why is it most important?
Oh, at my age, I wish I had more energy.
Right.
And I think they're part and parcel. I mean, if you had the discipline, you could create more energy, right? If you had the discipline to go to bed at a good time and eat right and go to the gym and do all the things that you should be doing, you're going to have more energy.
Right.
So I don't know that they're disconnected or you have to pick one or the other. I think that they're intertwined.
And younger men, probably the biggest struggle when you're younger is discipline, though, right? We kind of gain that over time as we get older, right? We understand, appreciate that a little more, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, live your life, but, I run into people that I went to high school with or college with, and they're like, oh man, those were the best years of our lives. And I feel sorry for them because I'm living the best years of my life now, right?
Why? Why do you think the difference is? Why are you living your best years of your life now?
Because that's what I'm creating.
Right.
So you decide when you want to create that. There's nothing wrong with having a great, when you're in your 20s and 30s, have a great life. but there's no reason it has to fall off. Increase that greatness. You're, as far as I'm concerned, you should always be living your best life now. There should be nowhere ever that you say, oh, those were the best years of my life. No. Create it so that these are the best years of your life, here and now.
What do you think a guy that's not living his best life today, what do you think what mistakes has he made over his time period? What kind of life is that guy living? If you look in your mind's eye, that guy that's not living his best life, it was a past, or it's hopefully the future, or one of the other. What's he doing wrong in his life right now? Or how's he living it?
It comes down to who's he living his life for, right? If you're living your life to impress others, or to live to other people's standards, or to emulate people on social media, if it's not aligned with what you, and if that's what you want to do, if that's what you honestly, truly, that's a life you want, then you're going to do that, and then fine, be happy doing that. But whatever it is you decide will make you happy in life, take active steps every day to ensure that you're working towards that.
Interesting.